Hey folks, what's up? Welcome back to another Poem Massive video, and this one's a bit late, right? Because there's just so much, because like the data between data download and like this everything going live, there was just like there's no time in between, so I never got to do this video. But since people are asking me, very nicely, I might add, to do this, well, you could do it again, right? Again, I would like to mention this is purely for entertainment, honestly. I really don't think there's much value like just comparing like straight like there's supports in here, there's techs in it, there's strikers in it, like they do different things. And please, God, do not make this a oh which one should you summon for list. Just summon for who you like, right? They're all really, 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 really good. Like the worst one in here would be like the best unit in like some other months. Like this is an incredibly packed month. They're all really, really, really good, right? And again, you don't even have to like summon on any of them. Like you wait for like reruns for like dual banners, all that stuff, right? Again, this is not a who you should summon on. It's just for fun. We're just gonna rank these in terms of which ones might be overall better, right? And all that. So again, shout out to Runner and Donson on our Discord for working on this with me, right? Again, do personally like more opinions on these, even though sometimes it could be really tedious because we had a very, 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 very tedious argument about two sync pairs here specifically. Actually, well, three, I guess. But anyways, let's get into this. So, from best, or obviously the top is the best and to the worst, even though again the worst is not that bad, honestly. But starting this off from the top, I do think it's Leon, right? Here's a few things about Leon though. Is Leon the best unit in the game right now? No, he's not. He's very, very good, right? But what I really like about Leon, and what makes me put him all the way up there is his potential in the future, because he has a lot of potential in the future. Like again, he's still really, really good right now, but his passive, the Galar Flag Bearer, we've just started getting into Galarian units, right? Once we get more Galarian units down the line, this could this passive could start getting like really, really, really powerful, because you could run a lot of different comps with him, and then it could turn out to be very, very powerful, right? Like this, the extra like the 20% damage reduction. Like I don't even like care about the power up, the move power up. Like it's it's good, right? But like 20% damage reduction for your whole team, up to 26 is just so good for your whole team, right? That's just so really, really nice. And then on top of that, Inferno is the hardest hitting single move in the game. That's not Mirror Coat, right? And then outside of that, you got Hurricane and Earthquake, which are all coverage moves. Does Hurricane and Earthquake do more than Cynthia's Earthquake and Blue's Hurricane? The answer is yes and no. If you do have the super effective up, they do more. If you don't, then they don't. Then the other two do more. So on average, since it's like 50%, right? So on average, Blue and Cynthia still are better flying type or ground type strikers in their respects. But it does have the capability, which means if you're even in that conversation, these are really, really capable coverage moves, right? With both Hurricane and Earthquake, right? Which is really, really nice. And then on top of that, you have just a really nice kit in terms of like the stats overall, right? Again, your defenses are not the best. Very much a glass cannon unit, especially when you're lowering them even more with your trainer move. But then again, you could fix that with bringing like defensive supports, right, and all that stuff. And the Synchron's actually not terrible either, right? You got some really nice stuff in here. Obviously Burn Synergy 5 to help your damage, Scorching Sync 5. He has an okayish sync, right? It's not anything crazy, but it's definitely solid, right? If extra 50% from this, and then you're not mega, so you're a base 250, 300 sync move, right? And then, yeah, I got stuff like Fast Track, Rejuvenate, right? MGR5 on Inferno. Just an overall really, really, really great unit that has a lot of potential in the future, right? So, moving on. The next one, this was a bit of an argument, because here's the next one's Marnie. Here's the thing with Marnie, right? Marnie is a pure damage dealer. It's one of the best in the game in terms of just dealing damage, doing a lot of damage, right? Marnie is currently the highest sync nuker in the game. And I say currently because we don't have Iris in the game yet. Although even if Iris is in the game, if Marnie does get the super effective up, then Marnie does even more than Iris. And the amount is just crazy. Like, she does, if you compare her to like the last like highest, sync nuker in the game, which is Mega Swampert, right? She does 1 million more than Mega Swampert. Like 1 million is about I don't know, what's a good comparison? That's like that's around Leon's sync nuke damage. That's how much and again, that's not without the super effective buff. With the super effective buff, right? She's up to like 8 million, which is almost double Mega Swampert sync nuke damage, which again, Mega Swampert, remember, before Marnie, was the highest sync nuke in the whole game. And that's like almost 8 sync nukes from Leon. Sun buffed, burn multiplier added, like one nuke from Marnie. And it's not like Marnie's nuke is hard to set up, or it's really easy. You just paralyze the opponent, right? And then you got and you have you max out your speed, which again, very, very easy to do. You got Aura Wheel, or you could bring like some speed buffer Sky or whatever, right? Marnie's sync nuke is just that insane, right? Just one Marnie sync nuke, you could just, that's basically like 10 turns of like some other, run-the-mill striker doing damage. Her sync nuke is insane, and her regular move damage is insane as well, right? Her Aura Wheel at max, right? If you also have the Hangry buff, that's again more than Mega Houndoom's damage, and that's more than like Gardevoir's Moonblast, right? Which also hits very, very hard. Let's see what other examples could I pull out. I don't know. It's just does like a lot of damage, right? It's again a 2-gauge move, almost as much as Zekrom's Electrotrain boosted 4-gauge Bolt Strike, right? Almost as much as that, and like it's just in crazy territory. It's just like crazy territory, like for a 2-gauge move to do that much damage, right? And again, it's a 2-gauge move. Marnie very, very fast. So the biggest upside with Marnie is you could easily run her in like dual striker comps, because it's just so easy to manage gauges. Very, very fast unit with a 2-gauge move that does more damage than almost all 3-gauge moves in the game. Does a lot of damage than like a lot of 4-gauge moves in the game, right? Like for example, let's see. What's a 4-gauge move? Like Sing to Cynthia's Clanking Scales, right? If it's a single target, it does more than that. That's a 4-gauge move. This is a 2-gauge move. You're half the move gauges, and you're doing more damage, right? It's incredibly easy to set up, right? Marnie doesn't do much outside of doing damage. I mean, well, she could also paralyze Hostile Environment 5. She could also flinch with Thunder Shock. But like honestly, as great as those, like Marnie is so crazy that those things which are really, really good aren't even like in consideration. You don't even consider using them just because your damage is so high, right? She's just such a fantastic damage dealer, right? All around. And that's why I do have her here, right? Like as an individual unit, she might even be like more useful, or not more useful, which is more powerful than Leon. But then again, the reason why I do think Leon is better is just because Leon is not only just a damage dealer, right? Hey, Leon could do really, really great damage, obviously. But Leon, outside of dealing damage, the dude could also, support your team. Has all this coverage as well. Oh, Marnie also has coverage, right? Obviously. I'll take that back. I guess that's not like that great of a point, but for in favor of Charizard. But this thing is just so good, right? It's a really, really great team player. Not that Marnie isn't. Marnie's also really great because, again, you could run dual strikers with that. But, again, the potential that Leon could get in the future is actually really, really crazy, right? But Marnie is up there as well, right, in terms of just how, broken this unit is. Moving on, number 3. And this is the part where, are we really putting Marnie over Hilbert? Because Marnie as, like, an individual unit is obviously, much, much better, right? But, supports are supports, and supports are very, very powerful in this game. Case in point, Hilbert over here. Fantastic sync grid. It's got, like, everything it needed, right? You got, like, Defense Crush on Aqua Tail. You got Aggravation on Waterfall. You got Vigilance if you want to take some hits. You got Crit Squad 2 on In This Together. You got Shielded Squad here for some defenses if you need that, right? Like, you got, like, everything you ever wanted on this thing. Except for some heals. So he's not the best tank, unfortunately, which could present some issues if you are running like dual strikers. I guess that could be like a bit of an issue. Because he's not just that great. Like, he has good defensive stats, right? But like nowadays, if you're a tank and you cannot heal, you're not doing yourselves much favors, because healing it just helps so much, right? Your whole like effective tanking overall. But outside of that, like it fixes just so many problems with like a lot of or not problems, just it fixes so many like physical strikers in the game. It's really, 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 really fantastic. I'm glad Hilbert got like this, this grid. It's a great grid. And I really do think it's better than even Skyla, which is the biggest argument that we had. In terms of like between Hilbert and Skyla, that took like around like almost an hour just arguing these two. And again, if you want to put Skyla over Hilbert, no problem, no issues with that at all. Honestly, I don't have any issues. If you guys want to put like, I don't know, Roxy over like I don't care, whatever, right? But like, the difference like. And this is why I say, like, this doesn't really, like, this video, it's fun to talk about this stuff, but it doesn't really have that much practical value, because, again, they do really, really different stuff. Skyla's a fantastic tank defensive support, and then Hilbert's a great offensive support, right? Obviously, Skyla has defensive buffs for your whole team, speed buffs for your whole team. You got, it's one of, like, the best units to use in the game for speed, because not only do you buff your whole team speed, you also have a 1 gauge spammable move with move gauge refresh 9. So every time you're using Gust, you're using 1 move gauge, but you're getting, like, 2 or 3 or 4 gauges back from using it, right? Which is fantastic. And then potions with Master Healer, right? 2 MP refreshers on potions. And then you got Fanfare to buff your team's physical attack if you need that, right? And you got Staggering, the chance to flinch your opponents. Like, Skyla is just an absolute monster, right? It's just like everything, almost everything defensively. It doesn't give you special defense, but outside of that, like, it's just a fantastic support that you could throw into like literally any team, and like it just makes your team instantly like better, right? So moving on, next one is Iris, right? So here's the thing with Iris. Marnie is the, again, strongest sync nuker in the game at the moment, but once Iris comes in, Iris does more. Assuming Marnie doesn't get the extra super, if Marnie gets a super effective up, then Marnie does more damage than Iris. But if you don't, then Iris does more. Not that much more, they're just a bit more, but it's still more, right? And Iris could potentially be broken, like really, really broken, like even better than we thought because of its passive, because we don't know exactly how double drop works. It says when an opponent's stat is lowered, it lowers by double the stat rank. We don't know yet if this is just for Iris herself, right? If she drops someone's stats as doubles, or if it doubles for like your whole team as well. Because if it doubles for your whole team, like if you like run Iris like Serena, Valentine's Serena, right? And then like you sharply lower your the whole opponent's team's defense, and it doubles that. It's like -4, which is crazy, right? And then on top of that, again, just Iris herself, even if we ignore this, right? Even if it's just for herself, she's still really, really good. You got Snarl and Breaking Swipes, which is AoE at least -2, right? Well, at most -2 as well, I guess. -2 for your opponent's attack and special attack, which obviously makes it much better if you're running some sort of stall team, or if the opponent just really does that much damage, or like in longer battles like Legendary Arena, right? That's obviously really, really good. And it just builds up to her damage, right? Because she does a lot of damage. Like, she hits really, really hard on her dragon rushes, right? For one, which she has piercing gauge, so we don't have to worry about the accuracy issue on dragon rush. And then she just have, like, with the multipliers, you have a lot of damage here. And then the sync nuke, obviously, outside of Marnie having super effective up, is the strongest sync nuke in the game. Once she comes out, right? However, the one downside of this, and why I didn't rank Iris higher, even though she's a fantastic damage healer, is unlike Marnie, or like a lot of other like Syncners, like Marnie or May or whatever, right? She does take very, very long to set up, right? Even with double drop, because to fully set up her sync nuke, right, you do need pecking order as well, decrease opponent's attack to -6, and then devastation, decrease opponent's special attack to -6. So with that, if you're just running it by yourself, obviously you're probably not going to, but that's 6 turns of dropping the opponent's stats, right? And then you have to like buffer as well, all that stuff. It's just it takes way too long. Maybe not that great in, say, master mode. So yeah, I still think she's a fantastic dragon dealer. I do personally find her probably the best dragon type damage dealer that we have. We don't have her yet, but once she comes out, right, you get the point. But once we do have her, she's probably the best dragon type damage dealer, right? And the other thing is, again, she could be fantastic in stages like Legendary Arena, or she could be good in master mode, right? If you don't pick the stat debuff parameter, and then you pick like a lot of like HP parameters for the opponent, defensive parameters, right? So you could have a long dragged out stage where you could set up enough to like nuke the opponent, then that's fantastic, right? So Iris, again, really, 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 really good unit. Again, none of these are bad, right? Like even Diantha, which is the next one, right? Which is, unfortunately, probably clearly the weakest out of the 4 new fairs, right? But she's still really, really good. Like if she's like the weakest over here, then like you're doing really, really well, because she is also fantastic, right? So Moonblast with both Fairy Power, hit the gas 5, obviously going to be doing a lot of damage, which is really, really nice. And then her Dazzling Gleam could also do some solid damage there as well. She's just not like, there's just not really too much to talk about her. Devastation, you could do some with the Sync Nuke. Here's a few things that do count against her. She does do good damage, but her damage isn't that crazy, right? For example, again, her Moonblast at the most still doesn't do like as much as, again, I guess it's not like fair to compare it to like Marnie's power what was it even called, power trip or whatever, the Marnie move, right? It's not fair to compare it to that, but like it's still not, it's just not that much, unfortunately, right? It just isn't that much. And it's also kind of sad because it's like a 4-gauge move. It still does more like it still does more than I think Kamoo's thing. It does much more than Yveltal's, which hits like a feather in comparison. It does a bit more than actually no, I think Houndoom does actually a bit. I mean, well, depend on what build you're building for Houndoom, right? If you're building like a full like multipliers, then Houndoom does more. If you're building like a more realistic build for Houndoom, I think Gardevoir does a bit more, right? But yeah, she just kind of gets out. I don't know. I wouldn't even like. Okay, here's the thing. If you compare Gardevoir with Whimsicott, right? Gardevoir does more damage, but not by that much more. She doesn't do that much more than Whimsicott. But she definitely does more. I mean, she is really easy to set up, I guess. It's really easy to use her, right? But if you compare the damage, she doesn't do that much more than. You know what? I wouldn't say that's slightly unfair. Like, she does a bit more, right? It's like 600k versus 530k, right? And then, but Whimsicott just does so much more than Gardevoir on her sync nuke, right? That's like 3 million versus like 1.5 million, right? That overall, Whimsicott, like even if, you know, again, Whimsicott takes a few turns to set up, so like her actual damage won't be more than Gardevoir's, but it's still very, very comparable, right? They're really, really close. And then it's just that Whimsicott, like on top of dealing all that damage, Whimsicott is also a great, you know, support for your team. Gives your whole team speed buffs, debuffs the opponent's speed as AoE paralysis, right? So like on those grounds, I do think Whimsicott is probably an overall better unit. But again, it doesn't mean Diantha's bad. Diantha's still really, really good, right? You know, again, great damage, all that stuff, really easy to use, right? Really not much of a, I mean, well, you have to, like, decrease the opponent's special attack, I guess. Although, I'm not a huge fan of running Devastation on Gardevoir, really. I would personally just not run Devastation, just, like, do something else. Or just have, like, someone else sync, right? And just, like, go for like full Moonblast, because her Moonblast hits really, really hard, right? Just go like full Moonblast. I do think that's probably like a better way of running Gardevoir, right? But yeah, unfortunately, her damage just isn't like as impressive as any of the other ones on this list, right? And then like everyone outside of Gardevoir also does like some other really like Leon supports this whole team. Marnie, you could run double strikers, right? You could paralyze opponents, flinch, all that stuff. And then Iris, you know, attack, special attack debuffs, all that stuff, right? On top of doing a lot of damage, and she just does a lot of damage, which is slightly, yeah. And then last one here, unfortunately, is Karina. I mean, Karina's actually not bad as a striker, right? A free-to-play striker, but obviously you can't compare her to, like, Diantha or whatever, right? Unfortunately. And her EX, she got an EX, but her EX doesn't really do anything. She has, like, no multipliers, no whatever. It's just that, like, she megas, which is nice, I guess, right? But yeah, Karina's still nice. Yeah, Karina's okay. I don't know. You're not comparing Karina with Diantha, unfortunately. But yeah, anyways, that's maybe this one, I guess. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me guys in the comments down below. Like me, know this video, start channel, some more Pokemon content. I'll see you guys in the next one.